Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. I am your host, Henry Harris. Well, good evening, everyone. This is Henry Harris. You're watching the Brother Henry and You Show. Why don't you go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, share the video. Let's get it out there. Let the world know that the Brother Henry and You Show is live right now. And I'm always delighted and happy that you've taken the opportunity to join with me today. We have such an amazing subject for you, a very special subject, a very sensitive subject, something that I feel that needs to be discussed. And you know we do that right here on the Brother Henry and You Show. We're not afraid to tackle subjects that many people may sweep off or ignore. But I was thinking about something the other night in regards to abuse. And I have a lot of female friends that I'm associated with, that I talk to, many of whom I'm very close to. And a lot of them sometimes find themselves in situations with men. Not that they ask for it, but sometimes they find themselves in situations with men where it can become very detrimental or very toxic. How many of you know how horrible that is to be in a situation like that? But the common response that I get from many women today, not a lot, but just a few, the common response that I get from some women today is, you know, I'm going to hang around because he's going to change. I'll just wait, he's going to change. I'm sure that my prayer will change him if I just demand change. Poof, one day he's just going to change. He's going to stop abusing me. He's going to stop hurting me. The man will change. Now, I'm not here to say that it don't happen. I'm sure that it does happen. But I believe that very far in between that it doesn't if a man changes. But let's dive into this and let's talk about this, because we need to recognize the cycle of abuse that you may be in today. You may not even be aware that you are in a abusive situation. But after today's episode, I hope you are. Tonight, I would like to address an important subject that's dear to my heart, and that is the area of abuse. I understand many may be reading this thinking, he's going to change? What does that mean? And to some of the men out there, you may be watching this and saying, are not women abusive? Does not women have the ability to change if they are abusive? I totally understand your concerns, as I am a victim of being with abusive women in the past. I want to say not necessarily physically, but maybe mentally and emotionally. So guys, I get it, but calm down. This is not about you tonight. I know the feeling. It's never good to stay in a relationship where you are experiencing this. But for the record, to the men who may be watching this saying, well, women could change too. To the men out there looking at this show and looking at this title saying, well, what about women? This show is not about men, it's about women today. Why do I address the men? Because I am addressing the men because I believe that abuse historically have always started or been initiated by the men. So please save the women are abusive too. We get it. We know that. But I believe that overall that men can be the most harmful and abusive. So many times when I hear that, I almost want to say, duh, any human being is capable of abusing someone. A woman can abuse a man can abuse a woman, but this message is targeted towards women who have currently experiencing or maybe experiencing it right now at the hands of a man. So you are a lady in an abusive relationship or marriage, and you are convinced there's nothing that's changing your mind. You are convinced that he is going to change. I just know it. But at the same time, you're not seeing no indications of change at all. He's still abusive, still mean-spirited. He still yells at you. He still calls you out of your name. He's still aggressive. And the cycle of abuse is still happening, and it's just not stopping at all. But it's all right because he's going to change. Ladies, knowing that he is abusive, let me ask you this question today. Why do you feel that you can change him? That's my question to you tonight. Why do you feel, well, I can change him? How? You've been trying to change him for several years. Has he changed yet? What can you really do to change him? You've prayed, you've fasted, you've done all these things. You sprinkle holy water on him. He's still abusive. He's not going to change anytime soon until this changes. I was being sarcastic with the holy water. So you see all these things, and like I said, it makes you want to ask the question, why do women feel like they can change abusive men? Let me know in the comments section right here below. Let me know. Comment. Let me know why you think women feel like they can do that. And I'm not going to lie. I've always been bothered by women's crusade to change men. As if if I keep demanding him to change, he will stop abusing me. If I demand him to change, he will change. And I'm a firm believer that if you meet the right person, he or she will truly love you for who you are, your faults and otherwise. I totally get it. I understand that not everybody is perfect. I get that. Not everybody is perfect. We've all made mistakes. I think all of us, including myself, may have been abusive in some aspects. Because sometimes I feel like people are abusive and not even aware of it. But at least you acknowledge it. At least you can say, hey, I've done something wrong. I'm hurting her. I need to make adjustments. I need to make changes in my life for the healthiness of the relationship. You've heard me say that there is someone who will love you for who you are and not necessarily for what they think you should be. Men and women have stayed with men, and I don't understand this, but men and women have stayed with men for many, many years expecting them to change. And that would be nice if he would, but given that you've been with him for many years and not seeing it change, you only see it get worse, which ultimately causes me to ask this question: why are you staying? And that's for another time and another show. Well, as one woman told me, I am staying with him, not necessarily because I've had children with him, but mainly because he is what I am familiar with. So you're staying with an abusive man that's causing harm to you, that's hurting you, that's abusing you because of familiarity? Is what you're used to? I totally understand being familiar with someone, especially someone you've known for years. You may not want to get to know someone else or develop a relationship or etc. with someone else because it just feels so right to be with that man even though he's treating you like crap. It just feels so right. It just feels perfect. He's all I know. He's a good man. I'm sorry, if he's abusing you, he's not a good man. So we feel like we have to put up with it. And in so many ways, using the I am familiar with him is more of a validation for him to keep playing mind games with you and to keep manipulating you and to keep abusing you. Because oftentimes, men and women, if you would admit it, we allow it to happen. Till you have to get to yourself and say, this is not allowed. This is not acceptable. You need to know your worth. You need to know your value, and you need to know what you deserve. And abuse and being a punching bag or whatever, or however he's doing that, you do not deserve that. It may sound like I'm being harsh, but please hear my heart. Because as a person who's friends with men and women, I hear their stories. Not only do I hear their stories, I hear their hearts. I see their passion, their strong passion in trying to change him. And I know that you're optimistic, thinking that one day it's going to supernaturally happen. I would just keep him around. He's going to change. And like I said, oftentimes that doesn't happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen at all. It does happen sometimes. But you know, even if that man wants to change, real change comes when he admits it. He could tell you all day, and we'll talk about this in the second half of the show. He could tell you all day, oh, I'm going to change. I'm going to change. I promise I'm going to change. But the reality of it is, until he admits it, or just ask him, okay, you say you're going to change. What is it that you're going to change? Get details. Because until he owns it, I'm not talking about, well, if I did something wrong, or I don't think I'm being abusive towards you, but if you think I need help, I'll go get help. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if he says I'm going to change, ask him in what areas are you going to change. Real change starts when you tell the truth. And you've heard me say it before. Confession simply means I tell the truth. There is no excuse for you to stay with a man who's abusive to you. I don't care who you are. There's no good reason, no good justifiable reason for any man to put his hands on you. Of course, that we know that works both ways. But remember, this show is mainly targeted towards women because I want to help women today. How many people stay with an abusive partner or abusive relationship thinking that they're going to change and it ends up in terror? How many stories have you heard of women who've stayed in abusive relationships thinking that he's going to change and they end up either hurt really badly or in some events planning their funeral? How many more women today that have to go to an early grave thinking that he was going to change? Ladies, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Ladies, he is not changing anytime soon. He's not changing anytime soon. And the only way he's going to change is that he has to, first of all, not only understand, but recognize the damage that he has caused. Not what he's blaming you for, because some men do that. If they hit you or whatever they do to you, call you names, they'll make you feel like that you deserve what you got. No matter what I did to you, the abuser will convince you or try to manipulate you into believing that whatever I do to you, you deserved it because you made me do that. Ladies, it's time for you to recognize the cycle of abuse today. But may I also add that he will never change if he's the type of person who never thinks he's done nothing wrong. If you're dealing with a man who thinks he's never done nothing wrong, he's never in error, you can't expect him to change. There are some people who abuse people and they know what they're doing is wrong. But there's also those who do it who may not be aware, which in my mind, I think they do know what they're doing is wrong, whether they admit it or not. I hope you are enjoying today's episode. I'm going to take a short break right here. We're going to accept a few phone calls from some of my friends. I'm going to ask them the question: do they think an abusive man can change, or he's going to change? And I would like to hear their perspective. So we're going to take a break and let's accept some phone calls right now. Well, it's good to hear from you. Would you please let everyone know who you are, your name?
Yes, I'm Linda Ford.
And where are you from?
I live in Goodman, Missouri.
Okay, that's awesome. And Linda's a amazing friend of mine. And so, Linda, I'm doing a show called "He's Going to Change." I know it's a very sensitive subject to a lot of people, but I think it's something that needs to be discussed and needs to be talked about. What are your thoughts? What would you say to a woman right now who may be in that situation? She's optimistic, she's hopeful, she really thinks he's going to change, but at the same time, there's no changes being made. What would you say to a person who may be watching right now that may be going through that?
It's been my experience that more than likely they are not going to change. If you've exhausted everything you know to do, they're not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
We can't change them. They can't change us, except get us into a relationship that might be a lifelong misery journey,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think people do that quite often too, especially men. They try to reel you in, with kindness and um, gifts and things like that. And then over time, I'm not saying all men are this way, but over time you start to see some red flags and some unusual things that maybe you didn't see at first.
Yes. And to me, the worst kind of abuse is mental and emotional abuse.
I think that's the worst kind too. So what would you say to a lady right now, before we go to the next person, who may feel stuck, or she thinks he's going to change, or maybe she thinks she can change him? What would you say to her right now?
If she has exhausted everything she knows to do, I would get out of the relationship before it's too late and they've brainwashed you pretty much into thinking that that's all you deserve.
Yeah,
Mental
because
abuse,
yeah,
emotional abuse.
yeah, and any woman that's in that situation, you do not deserve that. So, Linda, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you for coming on.
Okay, have a good day today.
All right, love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
My friend, how are you? I'm doing great. Thank you for being on the show. And I got people calling in from everywhere sharing their thoughts. Doing a message tonight called "He's Going to Change." Uh, many people have been in many relationships, so this don't have to be about one specific person. But I just want to know your thoughts on that subject. Maybe to a woman that's watching right now, that's optimistic, she's hopeful, but nothing seems to change. Maybe she's trying to change him. I mean, it's just a variety of things. So, I want to know your thoughts. Maybe some suggestions you may have in terms of helping women in this area today for a few minutes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for letting me have the time to share with my sisters. And even, if there's men out there listening, the Bible says that a woman will, just paraphrase Teresa style, will basically go after everything that her man that she thinks that her man will want and desire. The Proverbs 31 woman, she does all these great things to make him look like he's one of the greatest men in the assembly. And when we have, in today's society, there are these beautiful women out there that are striving to make their man the greatest person, or to help him in any way, because that's, we have a mother's instinct. We want to make our kids do the best, and we want to get them in their careers and help them to become great citizens and things like that. But the thing that we need to understand is that we cannot change anybody but ourselves. And oftentimes women, they love so much that they just believe that, if they love a little more, if they do a little bit of this, if they do better in this, or they dress up better, that's not going to change what somebody has in their heart. A person has to choose to change. And no matter how much you want to push them or tell them what to do, that's not going to help. You need to go to counseling, professional counseling, people that know, and you need to pray and get counseling for yourself as well. And, there's great books out there that can help you to understand. The Boundaries book is really good. So there's lots of things, there's lots of resources out there to help women understand that you cannot change a person. If he's violent, if he's gaslighting, those are very, very scary situations that you really probably need to remove yourself from.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's the ultimate reason why. I like what you said. I'm not saying that's the ultimate reason why why women go into a marriage or relationship. But I would say you are totally right that maybe that could be some of the problem that, I'm going to go into this. That may not be their intentions at first, but it'll definitely set you up for a huge disappointment thinking you can change. I know we're talking about specifically men, but that's a hard task. It's a job I definitely wouldn't want.
No. Yeah, because, you really can't change anybody. They have to want to change from the inside, and they have to have an encounter with God. I know in my life, I just had a couple years ago, 17, had met somebody that I thought was the most godly person in the world, and he turned out to be quite the opposite. He was not healed. He was vindictive from his past, and so he took it out on me. And I wanted to help him, and I didn't understand why he didn't want that help. That we're Christians. We're supposed to, be able to help, our spouse, and it didn't work. He cheated on me and left, and so, you can't. You go with best intentions. Women have very nurturing qualities, and we believe, because we love so much. It's just in us to love deeply and to want to see the best outcome and to try to save, and that's a beautiful quality about a woman. But oftentimes we cannot change a person who's set in a destructive path, and you have to really pay attention to the red flags, and you need to pray about those red flags, and then go from there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be in a situation where it becomes even more volatile than when you first got together. So anyway,
Yeah, I enjoyed that input. That's some very uh, wise information, and like you said, the person, that man will never change unless he sees his need. You talked about change, and I tell people this all the time. I just did a show on this not too long ago. Then we'll have to go to our next caller. Um, Change is internal. But I mean, just because a man says I'm going to change, women shouldn't take that at face value.
Yeah, they need to see corresponding action with that.
Yeah.
And that's very, very important. When somebody says, "Oh, I'll change," well, what's the fruit of their words?
And what are they changing? What are they changing from? I mean, are they admitting to something that they know that they're being detrimental? Because I think change comes with being honest too. Like, what are you changing? What about you that's changing that? Especially if she admits, this is where you're hurting me. This is the abuse you're causing. I don't like this. I mean, I think real change comes with just being honest. Like, this is what I've did. This is what I want to change. That's just my opinion. I think change comes with just telling the truth.
Yes, and that you're very, very right about that. You have to be honest with yourself. When you have when you have hurt somebody, you have to be honest, and you have to make amends for the things that you have done to hurt somebody. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then go on, because that's not real.
Sorry for what?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry for what? So, it's important that when you've done something wrong, you own it, because another person's feelings, they're important. Just like my feelings are important, your feelings are important, and you got to sit down and talk those things out. It's so important to have really good communication, because if you've come from another relationship and somebody else has come from another relationship, you both may have triggers that come from another relationship, and the other person that will say something to you, and you don't even know that it's even affected you. But and they get so mad, and you're like, why are they so mad at me? That doesn't make no sense. So you really have to have really good communication, because sometimes people, they didn't mean to say something wrong, or a man may say something to a woman, and she's taken it wrong, completely wrong, and he's like, I have no clue what you're talking about. But she's been wounded before, and that was a trigger word, and he needs to hear her out so that they both can come to an understanding that I've had this pain in the past, this has hurt me, and when you said that, it opened the wound, and I need to understand, is this what you meant? And he's like, oh my gosh, no. So on both sides of the spectrum, communication is so important, and also, seeing the corresponding action from when somebody apologizes to you, if you're going to be with them in their relationship.
Oh yeah, that is so true. Well, I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for your input. That was very powerful, and it's so good to hear from you. My girl, what's up? How are you doing? Is it Tanya?
What?
Is it Tanya? That's how you pronounce it?
Tanya.
Tanya. I just have to let the world know that this girl is simply amazing. It is such an honor to have you on my show to talk about, just for a few minutes, this subject. I got people calling in from quite a few places. And the subject is he's going to change. And what do you say about that?
I think that a lot of women want to believe that, wholeheartedly really believe it. They try to have faith and, all their time invested and everything they've been through with this particular person, that they really, really just want to believe that. But that is usually never the case. People only change for themselves, not other people. I think that's the first thing that a lot of us women miss in relationships like this. We miss that whole thought process of how people are, and we think they're going to change for us, that they're going to change to make the relationship work, and they're going to change so they don't lose us, and, but it never really happens. It's a promise that's given to us and then not fulfilled.
Yeah, it's like in many cases, it's like endless promises that is never fulfilled. Sometimes women deal with it because it's what they're familiar with. This is what I'm used to. I've known him for years. he's going to change. I'll just give him time. But we're talking about 10. I know one lady right now, she's been with this guy almost 17, 18 years, and he's still abusive, still treats her any kind of way. And it's like, and as a man, I'm looking at her like in my mind, like when is the light bulb going to come on in her head that this is not okay?
Yeah. Well, it's almost, it becomes like a trauma bond, like you are comfortable in that environment. Even though you don't like the way you're being treated and you don't like the things that are going on and you hope that they'll change, you're also almost set in your ways just like they are, and it's really, really hard to get out of that because just like anybody, it's like I kind of compare it after I've went through it to like an addiction. You think about smokers, right? You eat a dinner and you have to smoke a cigarette. Or when you first wake up in the morning, you have to smoke a cigarette. Well, these men that are abusive in our lives kind of fill that as far as, okay, if I were to leave him, like what would I do when we get up in the morning and we do this? Or after each meal when we do this? Or the arguing, even the arguing almost becomes like an addiction. If you guys don't argue for a day, like something's off,
And that's draining too.
Extremely, to go through it every single day. And you wake up some days and you're like, goodness, I just would really like to have a good day today. And you may put your best foot forward to do that. But with these types of men, it never turns out that way. They could be having a great day too, but they will want to purposely ruin your day and continue having a great day themselves. Like it is so one-sided. And in my previous experience, it even came down to like, okay, let's go to therapy. Let's do this. He promised me all of this stuff and actually followed through. However, we weren't allowed to talk to the therapist about real issues, the abuse, physical, verbal. We had to put on this whole fake act in front of the therapist. Really, it was counterproductive all the way.
Pretty much put on a facade.
Exactly. To continue with this image that he wanted to portray, where nobody knew what was really going on. And people, he would turn it into, he's going to change and he's going to do this. So like the little baby steps, the fact that he even went to therapy, throw that in my face all the time, but never acknowledged the fact that we can't talk about real issues there, which would have been helpful, maybe,
Yeah. Well, it's a serious issue that a lot of women are going through, and my main objective in this show is to not only educate, but to let women know that life is short, and that whatever lifespan that we have left, none of us know. We should spend that time enjoying that, whether you're single or even if you're with someone. You don't deserve that type of treatment. But I would say most women I've talked to or close friends with, their experiences with men changing is like far in between.
Right. No, usually it never happens. I mean, I'm not going to say it never ever, would happen because I think it's
very rare. Very rare.
Very rare. Yeah. And here's the thing too is the only way that some women, especially people going on 5 to 10 plus years of this, are ever going to see anything is to get away. You have to get away, and that's when you start seeing the real picture, because while they're in it, me too, I didn't see it that way. You know what I mean? Like, and unfortunately, with some of these men in this abuse cycle that goes around, it can end very badly, and that's what causes you to be able to get away, and it's just about being so strong, like probably stronger than they've ever had to be before to get away and break it, to get away. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going. And a lot of times, like I said, it doesn't end very well.
Yeah, I like how you said break it, because that's the subtitle to the show, recognizing the cycle of abuse. And many people don't realize that they're in a cycle. I told somebody this not too long ago, it's a person that's longing for a relationship and companionship. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But this girl keeps ending up with men that was just like the last one. And I said, you need to break the cycle. She said, the cycle of what? And it's like, but at the same time, she complaining about the abuse and stuff like. And in my mind, I'm like, does she even realize what's going on? Does she not even see the cycle of abuse and trauma that she's in? And so I think that's why shows like this are important, so women can identify. And before my next caller comes on, what would you say to a woman right now that may be like, you know, she's giving some really good points, but how can I how can I discover my worth as a woman? I mean, I depend on him. He may be a good man. You know, some of the excuses some women make to keep him around. What would you say? And I understand in many instances it's not easy to just pack up and leave, especially if you have children. But what would you say to a woman right now that may be like on the fence with this issue?
I personally, and this is obviously a personal opinion because it's what works for me, is self-care. Like, dive into self-care all the way around, every avenue, because that's how you will start gaining more self-worth. You know what I mean? Thinking of yourself differently once you start doing things for yourself, because a lot of women in these situations only do for them, for the man. Mm-hmm. They aren't doing much for themselves. And it changes your perspective a little bit. Have a good, support group. For sure, you need a good support group, especially if you're on that avenue of beginning the process of getting away.
Yeah, that is so powerful. And hey, I appreciate you so much for coming on. You're my bestie. You're my heart.
You too, mine. You know that.
I'm not ashamed to say that, and I want the world to know that. That's what I find the most attractive about you is that your authenticity. You're from day one. I don't know how long we've been friends now, but from day one, I picked up that vibe from you, and it's such an honor to have you on the show for the first time. I can't believe it, and also to address this subject. And I've learned a lot from you just listening to you. So maybe one of these days we're gonna have to meet and get that arranged. So I hope you have an amazing day.
Yes, you too, sweetheart. I'll talk to you later, okay?
All right, bye. Love you.
All right, bye. Love you too.
Hey, Ann, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm at work. I'm going in here doing just fine.
All right, awesome. Would you mind letting everyone know your name and where you're from?
Yes, my name is Lorianne Brown, and I am from around Rome, Georgia.
Oh, that's awesome. We're talking about, can a man change? He is going to change in the area of recognizing the cycle of abuse. And if you wouldn't mind sharing a couple minutes with us, your thoughts, maybe a woman right now that's watching that may be optimistic and think he's going to change, what are your thoughts?
A person's not going to change until they decide they want to change, until they realize there's a problem there and are really willing to do something about it. Because that's just like an alcoholic. An alcoholic is not going to change. They may know that they're an alcoholic, but until they decide to do something about it, all the begging, the pleading, the crying, and the world's not going to change them. They have to make the conscious decision to get off their rear ends and to put forth the effort and do it. If you give somebody, so much time, if they keep getting worse and they're not showing any change after you've been with them for like a couple of months, you tell them, hey, look, I've already told you up front my boundaries. This is where I stand. Or if they ever hit you, it's off. Because, no, there is no second chance at this point, because you keep giving second chances, they're going to get in the habit of, oh, okay, so they're weak, so I can do this again later. No, it's point blank. It's like, no, I have drawn my line in the sand, and you don't cross this. You respect me. And if you can't do that, then we've got a problem here, and we're not going to be together.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And I like that, and that's so true. Please announce yourself and let us know where you are from.
I'm Sina Grace. I'm from Southern California.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
My amazing friend. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for calling. Thank you so much for calling into the show. Uh, as you know, we're doing a subject on about abuse, of course, one of my favorite subjects. And the subject that we're talking about is he's going to change, question mark. He's going to change. What would you say to a woman that may be watching right now that may be in that situation where she may be hopeful? This is a question I've kind of asked everyone that have come on. She may be optimistic. She may have no doubts in her mind that one day he's going to change. But at the same time, uh, realistically, there's really no changes that are being made, but she's still hanging around. So share with us briefly on your thoughts.
Well, will he change? I believe that a person can change, but you have to get out of that abusive relationship. You cannot stay in that abusive relationship. That person itself needs to heal that trauma that it's causing all this abuse and pain within himself. The person that is being abused cannot stay in the relationship because she needs to heal that abuse of that, relationship that you're in. But I feel that within the relationship, I don't think they can change until they they already hit bottom rock, and they actually get help for themselves until they realize that there's something's going on.
Yeah.
Whatever is going on, resolve. They have to resolve that issue on their own with help with therapy, whatever they can grasp their hands on.
So you're saying that in order for them to change, that's something that they first of all have to acknowledge and be aware of.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Welcome back to the Brother Henry and You show. I really enjoyed taking those phone calls from some of my friends from around the United States. It's such an honor to have them to come on the show and share their thoughts. I thought they done an amazing job sharing their perspective and what they think on the subject. And I want to say thank you so much for calling into the show to do that. So let's finish out this message right quick. Women, please stop trying to change him. Come to a full stop today. And not only come to a full stop, but understand your worth. And may I add, stop wasting your time with these type of men. Stop wasting your time. But Henry, you don't understand. I care about him. I love him, and he's done this for my family. And he's done that. And let me tell you something. I don't doubt for a second that he's done those things. I don't doubt for a second that he loves you or that he cares about you, so you claim. But love doesn't hurt. Love doesn't hurt. And if you truly love someone, you don't abuse them. I understand people are imperfect, and I said this earlier. I understand I understand we make mistakes, but the focus is cycle here. We're focusing on cycle. If you find yourself in multiple marriages or relationships and you see that pattern of abuse, it may be safe to ask, what is it about me that's attracting these type of men? You can get on Facebook all day and post about narcissists and abusers and this and that. That's great. But at the same time, until you go within yourself and ask yourself, what is it about me that's attracting and pulling and gravitating these men in my life? How come every man I've been with hits me? How come every man I've been with disrespects me? How come every man I've been with dishonors me? You have to ask yourself that question. Nobody can answer that for you. Why do they keep coming around? And not only that, why am I dealing with it? Ladies, you have to get to the point where you say enough is enough. You're not property. You're not You're not just a toy to be played with. You have to discover your worth today and realize and you say enough is enough. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to tolerate this. I deserve better. And not only do I deserve better, I deserve the best. I had to do the same thing, even though at the time I didn't realize I was being abused in some aspects in my past relationships. I had to acknowledge the cycle, and I had a choice to make. Just like you tonight, I had a choice to make. Do I stay? Do I hang around thinking that this person is going to change? The likely chances of him changing oftentimes are slim to none. And just because he said he's going to change, ladies, you can't take that at face value. Just because he says, I'm going to change, doesn't mean he's going to change. Sometimes he just says that to get you off of his back. That don't mean he's going to change because he said it. Well, I guess he's going to change because he said it. No, he just said it. They're just words. Trying to change a man can be very dangerous, so women, stop. It can backfire on you and disappoint or even put your relationships on the rocks. Ladies, it's time for you to look at the red flags and stop ignoring it behind his smile and his charm. It's time to break the cycle. If that means calling off the relationship, do it. If that means getting a divorce, do it. Do whatever you have to do to be happy, but never feel like you have to stay with an abusive man thinking that he's going to change. Here's another important note. If he said he's going to change, his actions will imitate his words. It's not just saying that his actions will follow what he said. He can't simply promise to improve without actually putting forth the effort to do so. I know some of you ladies, you may be saying, but it sounds romantic to think that a guy wants to become a better man for you. But unfortunately, it's usually just a manipulative tactic to keep you around. But you don't get it. You don't understand that. He's trying to keep you there with false promises and false hope. So always keep in mind that when he says he's going to change, pay attention to his actions, not necessarily what he says right here. Change starts with the heart, and until the heart changes, he will not be changing anytime soon. You can pray for him, you can demand change, you can become frustrated, but you'll end up more unhappy and disappointed, and that is a fact. The motive of writing this show is to encourage women to realize your worth and your power, because ladies, you are powerful. And you are special, and you were not designed, listen to this, you were not designed to be abused, but to be cherished, to be loved, and to be accepted. If you see a cycle of abuse, it's okay to address it. But at the same time, if you see that no changes are being made, it's also okay for you to look for the nearest exit. Make no excuses today to stay with him. I don't care what he's done for you. I don't care what accomplishments he made. And quite frankly, I don't care who he is. Make no excuses to stay with an abusive person or man. Because we live in a society today where many of us have normalized this type of behavior, where we think it's okay, it's what everybody else is doing. I've dealt with it for so long, so why even mess with it now? Why even bother it now? So look at your life today and your relationship. Sometimes you got to go back and look at your relationship. Look at the person you're with. Ask yourself, do I deserve this or do I deserve better? Stop convincing yourself and telling yourself nothing is going to change. Stop convincing yourself and telling yourself that he's going to change. I'm just going to be patient. I just know God is going to do it, or he's going to change. I just know, and he's not changing. And I just want to make this clear. This show is not an attack against men. Secure men, listen to this. Secure men that's watching this show right now, you will be backing what I'm saying. Because a secure man wouldn't want to see a woman in harm. A secure man will love you and accept you and affirm you and validate you. A secure man won't abuse you. So yeah, if you are a secure man, of course you support this message. And hopefully you'll share this message. But I get it if there are insecure men out there that just may have a problem with what I'm saying. Or may just take this whole message and think, well, Brother Henry's attacking men and he's doing this. And you know, if that's your take and perspective on what I'm doing, you truly missed the whole point of this broadcast, because that's not my motive at all. I don't go into attack mode, but I am going to address things that I find of concern, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I got to go. But make sure you like, subscribe, connect with us, follow us on the Brother Henry and You Show page, www.facebook.com/The Brother Henry and You Show. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/Henry Harris 100 or the Brother Henry and You Show. Thank you for watching. If you know a lady that may be with a man that's in an abusive relationship or whatnot, I would encourage you to share this with her. Maybe she's optimistic. Maybe she thinks he's going to change overnight, but you see that he's not changing. Share this video with her. I mean, it may sow a seed into her life to want to come up and do something different or take an alternative route to where she's at. Because like I said, this is the main reason why I'm doing this show, is that I want to see you restored. I want to see you heal. And if that means you have to do it by yourself and do it alone, I'd rather you do that than to be with an abusive man that you think is going to change.
We hope you have enjoyed today's program. We want to connect with you. Visit us at facebook.com/The Brother Henry and You Show, or visit us on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Henry Harris 100. We're so grateful you tuned in today and hope you have a fantastic day.